There is a man who is thinking about you right now in this very moment, and what he feels for you runs far deeper than anything he has ever shared with anyone else. You may not fully realize it yet, and you might not understand how deeply your presence has already settled into his inner world. At times, you may even question whether anyone could feel something this intense for you at all. But there is something important unfolding here, something the universe has been gently preparing you to understand at the right time, when your heart is ready to receive it. This man, the one who keeps returning to your thoughts, who appears in your dreams, and who lingers in the quiet spaces of your emotions when you wonder about love, is not random. The connection you feel is real. He is genuinely, deeply, and quietly in love with you, even if it has not yet fully taken shape in the physical world. Before your mind tries to dismiss this or tell you it cannot be about you, stay present for a moment. What is being revealed here carries a meaning that goes beyond surface logic. The timing that brought you to these words is not meaningless. You were guided here because there is something about your situation that you have not yet been able to clearly see. There is a complexity within this connection, a layer that has prevented it from fully expressing itself outwardly. And by the time you reach the deeper understanding of this message, you will begin to see what has been quietly standing in the way of it becoming something real and fully lived. You have felt it, haven't you? That shift in energy when you are near each other. The way moments between you felt charged without explanation. The longer than normal eye contact. Conversations that felt heavier than the words spoken. Even silence that seemed to carry meaning. These are not things your mind simply invented. And there were nights when you lay awake questioning yourself, wondering if you were imagining it. But that doubt does not define the truth. What you felt was not random. It was not illusion. Something real has been moving beneath the surface. Your intuition has been aware of it all along, even when your rational mind tried to dismiss it. And the truth is, this man has been experiencing something similar, something he himself does not fully know how to interpret. There are moments when his own emotions catch him off guard. He did not consciously plan to feel this way. It did not begin with a decision. It unfolded naturally, quietly, almost like something larger than him slowly entering his heart without permission. Since then, something within him has remained lit. A steady emotional pull that does not fade, even when he tries to ignore it or rationalize it away. This is not a passing feeling. It has taken root in a much deeper place within him. But there is something important you need to understand. The presence of difficulty in this connection does not mean it is false or unimportant. It does not mean it is not meant to be. Many people assume that real love should come easily without confusion or resistance. But the truth is, the most meaningful connections often arrive with challenges already woven into them, not as punishment, but as preparation, as a way of revealing what still needs healing, strengthening, and understanding before two people can fully meet each other. Life has observed your journey closely. It has seen the moments you stayed strong when you felt alone. It has witnessed the times you gave love, even when it was not fully returned. It has seen how deeply you tried to understand others, even when they could not fully understand you in return. And through all of that, your emotional capacity has expanded. Your ability to love has deepened. You have been shaped by experience, not broken by it. And this man is somehow connected to that unfolding path. But between you and him, there is a barrier that must be understood before it can dissolve. This is not just a message meant to comfort you for a moment. It is meant to shift something in your awareness, to bring clarity where confusion has been lingering for too long. As you read this, there is a part of you that already knows more than you are admitting. A part that recognizes something familiar in this connection. Trust that inner awareness instead of dismissing it. There are unseen emotional and spiritual movements happening around both of you. Not in a dramatic sense, but in subtle shifts, timing, awareness, realization, and inner change. This message is part of that unfolding awareness. You were not randomly led here. You were brought here because understanding is now possible in a way it was not before. The confusion is beginning to lift. What once felt uncertain is slowly becoming clearer. Now, when we return to this man, we see someone who did not expect to feel this deeply. At one point, he may have tried to label it as simple attraction or passing admiration. He may have attempted to rationalize it, to explain it away logically. But emotional truth does not disappear just because it is questioned. It remains quietly persistent. What he feels has not stayed on the surface. It has entered a deeper emotional layer of his life and changed something within him. Even if he does not express it openly, it has altered the way he feels, thinks, and reacts. And if you're wondering how you can be certain this message applies to the person you have in mind, the answer lies in your own inner response. There is a recognition that does not come from logic. If a particular person keeps appearing in your thoughts as you read this, that awareness is not accidental. It is emotional resonance. Now, the complication must be understood with honesty. This is not a simple obstacle. It is rooted in fear, but not surface-level fear. It is not just fear of commitment or closeness. It is something deeper, formed from past emotional experiences that left marks within him. He has been hurt before in ways that made openness feel unsafe. At some point, trusting someone led to disappointment, loss, or emotional pain. Because of that, he learned to protect himself. He built internal walls, not to shut love out completely, but to prevent being hurt again. Yet, despite those walls, something about you still reached him. Not through force, not through effort, but naturally. Something in your presence bypassed the defenses he thought were permanent. And that is exactly why this connection feels so intense for him. It awakens something he thought he had already closed off. Inside him now, there is a quiet conflict. His emotional pull toward you and his cautious mind are moving in opposite directions. One part of him recognizes something meaningful. Another part remembers past pain and urges restraint. This is not about your worth or anything lacking in you. It is about his internal healing process. And what makes this connection significant is that your presence is part of that process, whether either of you consciously intended it or not. You are not here to force outcomes, chase answers, or prove anything. You are not meant to convince him of your value or fight for emotional recognition. Your role is to remain aligned with who you truly are while allowing clarity and timing to unfold naturally. Even though uncertainty can feel uncomfortable, what you need to understand is that movement is already happening beneath the surface. Change is not absent. It is in progress. Emotional healing, realization, and internal shifts are already taking place in ways you cannot directly see. At the same time, this man is not only dealing with emotional memory from the past, he is also carrying present life pressures that make him feel as though he is not fully prepared. When he looks at where he currently stands in life, he may feel incomplete or not ready to step into something serious. And this adds another layer to the distance between you, not as rejection, but as timing, inner readiness, and personal growth still unfolding on his side. He tells himself to wait. He convinces himself that he needs more stability, more security, and greater success before he can step into a serious relationship with you. In his own way, he believes he is protecting you by holding back. He doesn't want to come into your life while still feeling uncertain about himself. What he truly wants is to reach a point where he feels steady, confident, and worthy enough to stand beside you without insecurity. But this goes beyond money or external success. At its core, it is about how he sees himself. He wants to feel deserving of your love. He wants to feel like an equal partner in your life, not someone still struggling to figure things out. Yet there is a deeper truth that needs to be understood. No one ever truly arrives at love fully complete. Life does not work that way. Every person is still becoming, still healing, still learning. Love is not something we earn only after everything is perfectly aligned. It is something we grow through together while we are still imperfect and evolving. This belief that he must wait until he is ready has already cost time and created distance between you. It has slowed something that carries real emotional weight. But even now, something is shifting within him. A deeper awareness is beginning to form inside his mind and heart. Over time, the idea that he must be perfect before he can love will begin to weaken. He will slowly understand that waiting for ideal conditions is the same as waiting endlessly. Perfection is not a real destination. What matters instead is the willingness to grow, to be honest, and to build something meaningful together even while life is still unfolding. When that realization fully lands, it will change the way he sees everything between you. There is also something important happening within your own journey. While he is processing his inner struggles, you are also being guided to look inward. There are moments when doubt quietly enters your mind and makes you question whether you are truly worthy of the kind of love your heart desires. Sometimes old emotional pain whispers that lasting love may not be meant for you. But those thoughts are not your truth. They are echoes of past experiences, not predictions of your future. Your worth is not defined by what you went through or how others treated you. Your value is not something that fluctuates based on external validation. It is already part of who you are. You are not becoming worthy of love. You already are. And when this man eventually steps into emotional readiness, being with you will not be something you beg for or chase. It will be something he recognizes as meaningful and rare. He will not be the only one giving thanks. There will also be a sense of gratitude in him for your patience, your presence, and the space you held for something real to develop. Now, the question that sits at the center of your heart is timing, and here is what needs to be understood. Change is already forming around this connection. Something in his inner or outer life will begin to create clarity. It may come through a conversation with someone he trusts. It may arise in a quiet moment of reflection when he can no longer avoid what he feels. It may even surface through dreams or sudden emotional insight that he cannot easily dismiss. However it arrives, it will not leave him unchanged. When that shift happens, his emotional distance will begin to soften. His hesitation will no longer feel as heavy. Slowly, he will start to reach out more naturally. He will find reasons to speak, moments to connect, and ways to express feelings he previously struggled to put into words. Your patience during this phase is not weakness. It is endurance through uncertainty. It reflects trust in something that is still unfolding. Still, trust does not mean ignoring your own reality. It is important to recognize that doubt often comes from previous disappointment. The mind learns caution from past pain. That is natural, but you also have to ask yourself what fear is costing you when it takes over your hope. Believing in something meaningful does not make you naive. It makes you open. Faith does not demand certainty before it exists. It asks for willingness to believe that things can develop even before the full picture is visible. And when that willingness grows, it loosens the emotional walls that once felt permanent. There is a deeper promise being reflected in this situation, a direction toward peace, clarity, and a future that is not random or accidental. Nothing about this connection is without purpose. Even the delay is part of a process that is shaping both of you internally. Every pause is teaching something. Every moment of waiting is building emotional awareness, patience, and readiness for what comes next. If you are still connected to these words, it is not meaningless. It reflects a readiness to understand what has been unclear until now. Not everyone stays with this kind of message because not everyone is prepared to see it honestly, but you are still here. And that in itself reflects alignment with the process of understanding. At the same time, it is important to see the full picture of him as well. His feelings are not unclear. The confusion is not about whether he cares. The confusion is about what he is supposed to do with what he feels. He has thought about moving forward more than once. He has also pulled back at the last moment more than once. Not because of lack of emotion, but because of the weight of responsibility he places on those emotions. He does not want to step in too early and risk damaging something he sees as meaningful. He does not want to offer less than what he believes you deserve. In that sense, his hesitation is tied to respect, not indifference. But hesitation, even when rooted in care, still creates distance. And within that distance, a quiet realization is waiting to form in him. That love always involves uncertainty. There is no version of love that is completely risk-free. Waiting for absolute safety can quietly become a way of never stepping forward at all. The openness he fears is actually the same doorway that leads to deeper connection. And until he understands that, he will remain in a space between awareness and action, feeling deeply but not yet fully moving. You, however, are already standing in the space of emotional openness. You have already allowed yourself to feel, to hope, and to remain receptive even after disappointment. That takes its own kind of strength. Now the next step is his, to meet you where emotional honesty already exists. Until then, the most important thing you can do is protect your inner peace. Do not let uncertainty consume the space where clarity is still forming. What is meant to develop will not be destroyed by patience. And what is real will not disappear simply because it is taking time. Movement is happening, even if it is not visible yet. When you speak with faith, you are not just expressing thoughts. You are shaping the way your inner world interacts with the situation around you. Faith changes the tone of your emotions. It softens fear, reduces urgency, and brings a kind of steady strength that cannot be easily shaken by uncertainty. Your words begin to carry more influence than you realize, not because they control someone else, but because they stabilize you. And in a season like this, where nothing is fully visible yet and everything is still unfolding beneath the surface, that inner stability becomes the most powerful thing you can have. There is a way you are meant to carry yourself in this waiting season, and it has nothing to do with shrinking, doubting yourself, or trying to become easier to accept. It is rooted in presence. It is rooted in self-respect. It is rooted in emotional grounding that does not depend on another person's response to feel complete. This is the kind of energy that does not chase, does not panic, and does not collapse under silence. It simply stands firm, calm, and aware of its own worth even when answers are not arriving quickly. Do not dim your light just to make him feel more comfortable. Because when someone encounters your confidence, your emotional depth, or your natural brightness, it can sometimes trigger an internal reaction in them that they themselves do not fully understand. They may feel pulled toward you, but also uncertain about whether they are ready for that level of emotional exposure. In those moments, the instinct might be to step back, to create distance, or to act confused. But that reaction is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their internal process, and shrinking yourself will never solve that. You are not meant to reduce your presence in order to be chosen. You are not meant to lower your voice, soften your truth, or hide your emotional depth just so someone else feels less overwhelmed. You are meant to remain fully yourself, consistent, grounded, and real. Because the right person will not feel threatened by your light. They will not experience it as something they must escape from or compete with. Instead, they will recognize it as something meaningful, something steady, something they want to stand beside, not step away from. When someone is truly ready, your presence does not intimidate them, it anchors them. It becomes something they are grateful to meet, not something they resist. And during this time, one of the most important things you can do is to stop chasing. Chasing often comes from emotional urgency. It comes from the desire to close a gap that has not yet been naturally closed by both people. But when you move too far towards someone who is still uncertain, you create an imbalance. You begin to give more than the situation is ready to hold, and over time, that imbalance can drain your energy, increase confusion, and make the connection feel heavier than it needs to be. Instead, allow space to exist, not as punishment, not as a reaction, but as clarity. Step back with calmness, not resentment. Let silence do what words sometimes cannot. Let distance create perspective where closeness may have created pressure. Because sometimes a person only begins to understand the emotional significance of your presence when they feel its absence in a natural, unforced way. That space is not emptiness. It is information. It allows both sides to feel what is real without interference, without pressure, and without emotional noise. And in that space, understanding begins to form more clearly than it ever could through chasing. And while this unfolds, you are not meant to lose yourself in waiting. You are meant to return to yourself. This period is not wasted time. It is not a pause in your life. It is a form of preparation. A quiet space where growth is happening in ways that are not immediately visible. You are becoming more aware of your emotions, more stable in your identity, more grounded in your sense of self. And those are the qualities that shape the kind of love you will eventually experience. Because when your love story becomes real in physical form, You will not want to enter it as someone still fragmented by waiting, overthinking, or emotional depletion. You will want to enter it whole, steady, clear, emotionally balanced, not seeking completion, but ready to share completeness with someone else. That is how two emotionally mature individuals build something stable, not from urgency, but from wholeness. Even in silence, there is still connection in a different form. Not control, not attachment, but intention. A quiet emotional awareness that can include prayer, reflection, or simply wishing well for the other person without trying to direct their path. Wishing healing for their fears, strength for their confusion, and clarity for their heart becomes a peaceful expression of care that does not demand anything in return. And that kind of energy does something important within you as well. It keeps you aligned with calmness instead of anxiety. Now, imagine what happens when internal resistance begins to soften. When he starts to move through his own hesitation, something subtle begins to shift. The emotional distance that once felt strong does not disappear instantly, but it begins to lose its intensity. The confusion that once clouded his understanding starts to clear slowly over time. He begins to see the connection not just through emotion, but through reflection. And as that happens, the meaning of your presence in his life becomes harder to ignore. The walls that were built out of fear or uncertainty do not collapse all at once. They soften first. They weaken gradually through experience, reflection, and emotional awareness. And in that softening, clarity begins to form. Eventually, there comes a moment where staying silent feels heavier than speaking honestly. And when he reaches that point, if he does, his return will not come from confusion. It will come from intention. He will no longer be trying to understand what he feels from a distance. He will have already done that inner work. He will be stepping forward with more clarity, more awareness, and a stronger sense of direction. And that version of him, if it arrives, will not be the same as before. It will be shaped by reflection, by growth, and by emotional maturity that only time and inner experience can create. At that point, communication becomes easier, simpler, more natural. Conversations that once felt uncertain begin to flow without effort. There is less guessing, less emotional tension, and more presence in each interaction. What once felt blocked begins to feel open. And while no connection is ever without challenges, what changes everything is the foundation beneath it. When a connection is built on patience, self-awareness, and emotional balance rather than urgency or fear, it becomes far more stable and grounded. Over time, what you are experiencing now becomes part of a larger emotional story. A story of two people learning, growing, and gradually moving through their own internal barriers towards something more honest and real. So, as you move through this phase, stay anchored in your own peace. Do not let uncertainty take over your emotional state. What is meant for you is not lost simply because it takes time to arrive. Timing is not a sign of absence. It is often a sign of alignment developing in ways that are not yet visible. Even when nothing appears to be changing on the surface, internal transformation can still be happening deeply beneath it. Growth rarely announces itself. It works quietly until the moment it becomes undeniable. And sometimes you may notice small shifts, subtle emotional reflections, moments of intuition, or meaningful coincidences that seem to carry emotional weight. These are not guarantees or confirmations. They are simply reminders that life is never as still as it appears. And within him, something continues to shift too. He begins to recognize, slowly and internally, that avoiding the connection may create more emotional discomfort than engaging with it honestly. The emotional significance of what he feels becomes harder to suppress. Fear loses some of its influence. Avoidance loses some of its comfort. The walls do not fall quickly, but they no longer feel as strong as they once did. And when clarity finally outweighs hesitation, action becomes possible. When he does come forward, it will carry a different energy, more thoughtful, more grounded, more intentional, not rushed, not uncertain, but considered. And in that moment, if and when it happens, you will meet a version of him shaped by reflection rather than fear. A version that is more capable of consistency, honesty, and emotional presence. Because this connection, in its highest form, is not meant to keep you in confusion. It is meant to evolve towards something that feels steady, mutual, and emotionally safe. So while you are in this in-between space, return again and again to gratitude. Not because everything is already resolved, but because gratitude keeps your heart open without losing your balance. Be thankful for what is unfolding, even if it is still invisible. Trust that growth is happening on both sides in ways you cannot yet fully see. Your journey is not on hold. It is unfolding. And what is unfolding now is quietly moving toward a clarity that will, in time, make everything feel more understandable, grounded, and real.